Welcome to the Drinks Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Alex Macintyre. I'm a chartered financial planner working with founders and leaders across the drinks industry. In each episode, I sit down with the people behind some of the world's most exciting drinks brands to explore the real stories behind launching, building and scaling drinks businesses. If you love the drinks industry and the stories behind the bottles, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. Good morning. Welcome to the Drinks Entrepreneur Podcast. And I am delighted to be joined this morning by Jamie Smith from the online tasting company. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good.
And remind me, where are you joining us from today?
Hey, I've got a work from home day, so I'm in Tring, Hertfordshire, but EcoSip and the Online Wine Tasting Club is based out in Lake Buzzard in Bedfordshire.
Fantastic, fantastic. So what I'll do is if I could just get you very quickly, Jamie, just to give a very quick snapshot of the business itself, and then we'll dive right back into should we call it your origin story and your background, and then we'll start talking about your journey, if
Yeah,
that's okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. The company itself, EcoSip, has two main strands. So we've got the EcoSip packaging, which is our single serve, perfectly preserved wines that we do a lot of B2B stuff with. So we pack for people like Wine Society, Naked Wines, so they can get their samples out further afield. And then we have the Online Wine Tasting Club, which is our direct to consumer subscription model, where people get six little samples of wine through their letterbox every month and then can join myself and Alex and any guest host we have on YouTube once a month to taste along with us, learn a little bit about the wines, and find their new favorite glass of wine.
Fabulous. Sounds amazing. So that's the business as it is today, and obviously there's a lot there to unpack and talk about. But yeah, tell us a bit more about obviously how you got there and your background, because obviously that's
Yeah,
quite a
absolutely.
nice story.
So my background, I've always been hospitality. I was the kid who washed pots at the restaurant behind my parents' house when I was 13 years old. Decided I wanted to be a chef, so I kind of went up through that route a little bit. Went to university, did my year in industry from university in Orlando for Disney World, where I got to work front of
Wow.
house. And the American culture where front of house is seen as a skill set rather than just a job that sometimes it's seen as in the UK. And
Yes.
people were tipping me to talk to them. It's like this being tipped to do that. I'm like, this is brilliant. People usually pay me to be quiet, not to talk to them.
I'll
Uh,
have some more of that.
so I did
Yeah.
that for a year, moved back to the UK, decided university, I felt I was learning more in the industry than I was from a textbook at uni. I then got another opportunity to go out to the United States and went to Washington, D.C., opened up a fine dining restaurant lounge as part of a management training team, management training program over there. Was meant to be there for 18 months, kind of met my wife, stayed, and then worked, a fair few kind of like fine dining, wine bars, those kind of things. And it was that first place in Washington, D.C. that I got put on the wine program. And that's where I want to specialize. I think wine is
Yep.
brilliant. There is so much cool stuff about it, but it doesn't need to be as obnoxious and snobby as it seemed to me at the time. So fast forward 10 years in the States, moved back to the UK, did a couple of little corporate things, a couple of wine bars, and then met my business partner and we thought, let's do something fun in the UK. So he's got an engineering background, but had decided to go to Plumpton to study wine. So he's like,
Okay.
we could do kind of like and he was um excited by California, and those urban wineries down there that it's a garage making wine and it's brilliant. Could we do that in Hertfordshire? So we found a little place on an industrial estate. He was going to make wine once a year, getting grapes from either England or Puglia or Rioja or
Yep.
wherever we could source some grapes from. I was
Yep.
going to run the wine shop. And we opened that up in February 2020, which was a wonderful time to open a
Yes.
customer facing hospitality venue. So
Indeed.
we
Yes.
got 36 days before we went into lockdown. Um, And as a new business, we had put all our cash into stock, into the bar, into the floor, into the lights fixtures.
Yep.
And, I was a WSET educator, and the whole thing was about experiential. People would come down, try, taste, do this. So we sold tickets for about 3 or 4 months worth of tastings. And we're like, ooh, how do we not give people their money back? Because we haven't got any to give them.
Yes. Yeah.
So we started by taking a big bottle, getting a little glass bottle, pouring it in, a little bit of argon on there, crown cap on the top, and I would drive around Tring and drop these little glass bottles off on people's doorsteps. We'd do a Zoom call, talk through the wines, and I think we were one of the first people in the country to be doing that. And then I turned around and said, please, 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 can you leave the glass bottles on the doorstep so I could drive around the next day? It was a whole new level of milkman I was. So I go
Indeed.
around, collect them,
Yes.
reuse them. And that was brilliant for the first month or so of lockdown because I was getting the bottles back. But as lockdown extended, people are, oh, they tell their friends in London, their friends in Manchester, their friends in the Scottish Islands that this was a great thing. And we started shipping. And multiple problems there. A, we weren't getting the glass bottles back, so that
Yeah.
cost, by the time you had
Yes.
5 glass bottles and the postage and the packing, you're at 20 odd quid before you put any wine in there. So, people
Gosh.
don't see the
Yeah.
value in that.
Mm.
Um, and then, things were getting broken. You have no idea how many people's lives I ruined because something got damaged in the post or didn't arrive, even though
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
all knew the pressure the postal system was under. Um,
Yes.
and Alex, my business partner, he was inspired by the Spicery. That is a little company that they send you little packs of spices every month or 2 months on a subscription thing, and then you buy your proteins or vegetables, whatever, and you can cook something. And he just saw
Okay. Yep.
this thing had come through his door, and the postage on it was 90 something p maybe. And it's like, what if we could get our wine to do that? So we could get it down. So he thought flexible packaging was the way forward and started experimenting with almost like a sous vide and a pair of, hair straighteners, like building pouches. Our first ever carton for the boxes was made out of a shreddies pack that you cut up and
Oh wow.
um,
Yeah.
and so we thought, and Royal Mail has these rules that if you want to be a large letter, which meant we could ship for about £2 at the time,
Hmm.
it had to be less than 750 grams, and it has to
Okay.
fit this. It's kind of like an A4 sheet of paper size and 2 centimeters thick.
That sort of thing. Yeah.
Not a lot of wiggle room in there, and there wasn't a glass or
No.
plastic bottle on the market that would fit that. So we ended up creating these,
Oh, those.
which are these single serve aluminium core pouches. And that has just gone from strength to strength. So we started doing that. We started shipping as the online wine tasting club. I thought that was going to be the secret sauce, and that is what we would do forever and ever and ever. And then we started getting calls from other people, from Naked Wines, from marketing companies, from the wines of bodies going, can you do that for us as well? And we came to a realization that it's not just for these online tastings. There's so many more uses for these lightweight pouches. So yeah, so we were based at Tring. We had the wine shop, and that just and that was fine. But then when lockdown finished, we couldn't have all these boxes and boxes and boxes piled up in the wine shop because people needed to come back into the wine shop.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was a very good storeroom during lockdown, but not great when people wanted to come and pick a bottle of wine off the shelf again. So we went all in. We've took over a space in Leighton Buzzard. We built a factory there. And I can go into more detail about kind of the process and stuff whenever, because I'm sure that's down your list of questions. But we've built a full-blown factory with clean rooms, all that kind of stuff to be able to do this properly. And it was that balance of proof of concept to actually, this is a real thing. It needed its own,
Yes.
its
Yeah.
own dedicated facility.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. So, I mean, having gone through that, and I'm sure when it got to just thinking back, what, 6 years, isn't it? February 2020, and obviously the news was getting more and more um, topical with COVID coming out. I'm sure you'd obviously taken over this shop. What was going through your head at that time in terms of obviously when we officially went into lockdown, whatever it was, March 23rd or whatever. But that gap between the two was obviously no doubt a bit of a stressful period for
It
you.
it was very single swim. We were
Mm,
in that position that because we were brand new, we hadn't been around long enough to do any furloughing or any of that kind of stuff.
yes,
So
yeah,
it was we had to do something or do nothing. And I don't know, maybe because we were small and new, we had that ability to be quite agile with the wine shop side of things, because
yeah,
you couldn't get wine from Tesco's, and I think Wine Society and Naked were, closing down their shipments and warehouses because of
yeah.
social distancing and stuff like that. So I was basically, how many cases of wine can I fit in the back of a Mini and drive around and drop off to people? And it was madness. You'd see the orders come through. Obviously, someone's got up in the morning early and gone, "Oh, I've drunk my orders coming through at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for wine deliveries and stuff like that." So, um, at the beginning of lockdown, we were okay because I was able to get wine for the shop. I was able to deliver in a way that other people couldn't, and we were classed as a key worker, which helped us. I don't know if luxury wine should have been classed as a key worker, but everyone who I delivered to agreed that I should be a key worker because it was very
It kept us
important.
going. Yeah.
So yeah, so we were running the shop and that was fine. And the online tastings were building and building and building. I think at peak we did a wines of Chile tasting that we had 2,500 people bought a tasting pack, which was
Wow.
absolutely madness. I'm
That's
like, there's
phenomenal.
a couple of thousand people out there that are that stuck in lockdown that they want to listen to me yabber on about wine for an hour and a half. It was kind of like a pinch me moment. It's like, and yes, it was.
That's amazing.
But I
Yep.
also thought we were doing something like good for community. We were
Yep.
allowing people, and at the beginning it was on Zoom, it wasn't on YouTube. So a lot of the conversations were like, "Oh, so and so's just gone to get his pizza. So and so's look at his clothes." It was a nice little social thing, and then it grew
Yep.
to a stage that Zoom didn't work anymore. Too many faces, too many moving parts, too many people not able to mute themselves when everyone was trying to
Okay.
talk. So we've kind
Yes.
of we've kind of moved it to YouTube. So yeah, that's kind of where we are now.
Fantastic. I mean, that's crazy numbers and obviously proof of concept that you had a brilliant idea there. And I think there's you mentioned obviously key worker status, but I think at that time when everyone was at home, there was either the camp of drinkers, the right end of society, and those that probably bought a Peloton. And I think you get in the mix that the people were stuck at home. What do they do? Obviously, the sensible people enjoy wine. So that's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, as I say, I suppose in a way it was a perfect time to test that sort of concept when you've got a captive, receptive audience at
To
home.
be fair, I absolutely believe I do not think this would exist without COVID. I really don't.
Mhm.
That was never the plan. The
Yeah,
original plan was to open this little wine shop winery in Tring and then recreate that in kind of like other like affluent market towns around the M25 and kind of have that as
yeah.
a thing. And obviously that went out the window and I'm here now making, pouches and boxes full of delicious wine for people. So it's absolutely brilliant, but it was not what any of us thought we were starting when we picked up the keys to the place in Tring in, at the end of December 2019 before we went into, construction there.
Yes, yeah, I bet. And I mean, how in terms of the sampling and how difficult a process, and obviously it's quite a lot and quite a lot of testing and variance went into it. How difficult and technical was it to come up with the final product as such for the
So
eco set?
the final was very difficult. That like the beginning points of it, like the concept makes sense. The concept makes sense, and we've learned a lot as we've gone. And we've read textbooks and then realised textbooks aren't always perfectly accurate. And we've done some learning. So when we first started, we thought that oxygen was the big problem. Okay, so if we get rid of
Okay.
oxygen, no problems, we can do that.
Yep.
So we got a film that had a very low oxygen transfer rate, therefore oxygen wouldn't be a problem. Done. The end. Um, what we realized going further down the line from that was it wasn't just oxygen. Um, we realized there was also a microbial factor because when you bottle wine, you obviously it goes through a bottling line. That bottle is sterilized within an inch of its life. The wine goes in, it's hermetically sealed, done. Yeah,
Yep.
nothing can get to it.
Yep.
However, the second you break that seal to decant to repack, there is some level of contact with the environment,
Mhm.
which can lead to bacterial cells, airborne yeast cells,
Yep.
those kind of things. So if you get one yeast cell into your wine that's got a little bit of residual sugar in there, obviously it wants to re-ferment and it will make a lovely little pet nat that you never wanted. And we saw that honestly. We spoiled some wine in the early days, learning. But we saw our competitors who, I think people would take anything and put it into any vessel during lockdown and send it out to people. It was, oh my God, some of the things I
What are
saw.
you doing?
Like
Yeah.
someone's ordered, plastic shampoo bottles off Amazon. It's like pouring wine in. I'm like, no, no, no,
God.
no, no.
Yeah.
Um, so we realized there was that microbial problem. So, microbes either secondary fermentation or you get something in there that mops up any free sulfites. And therefore, if there is just that little bit of oxygen there, that can then
Yep.
damage it as a secondary consequence. So it's
Okay.
not just oxygen, there's also the microbial thing. So, and I think that's what we learnt with when we were doing the glass bottles. Argon doesn't save the world. It's a good preservative and it helps, but the wine is already damaged, or I say damaged. If the wine's already had that contact with the air or the yeast or the bacteria, that argon it's not penicillin. It just creates a blanket. So we have obviously we've put everything into a clean room, so that brings by a magnitude down any level of atmospheric yeast or bacteria or any contaminants. But we then have a secondary process if you're looking for long shelf life, which is a pressure process on these pouches,
Okay.
which will basically inactivate anything that could have possibly got in there. And because it's a pressure process, you can't do it on a glass bottle, on a can, on a PET bottle because it will
Right.
pop.
Yep.
It's kind of like, remember the submarine that went down to see the Titanic? That's
Yeah.
the kind
Okay.
that is the
Yeah.
kind of levels of pressure these pouches go under if we want to, and we call it our extended shelf life treatment. So that means every any wine that we do we have a guaranteed shelf life of 6 months. Um,
Right. Okay.
and we like to work with guaranteed. There's other people out there who use the term up to. I don't like up to because that's a guessing game. If you say up to
Yes.
12
It's a bit
months,
woolly. Yeah.
if you put a
Yeah.
Madeira in there, of course you've got up to 12 months. You can open a bottle of Madeira and leave it on the side. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it gives us that ability to pack non-alcoholic wines, light aromatic wines and preserve those qualities. Yeah, so there's there's other people who repack wines, and some of them will say, "Can we have your tech sheet to see if it's appropriate for our technology?" We don't have to worry about that. We can pack whatever people want to pack, which gives us, I think a bit of an advantage.
Fantastic. So moving on from that, I mean, how much of an undertaking was creating this facility, the clean room, etc., from scratch,
From
essentially?
from scratch, it's you know what, you look back at it and we're 5 and a bit years old now, and one thing, it feels like I've been doing this for my entire life, and on the other, one second later it feels like we did this last week. um it's been a tough undertaking. There's been lots of stressful moments, but that's the joy of startup life and creating something new.
Yeah.
And I think where we the biggest thing was if you create a product that someone else has done and something's not working, you can call someone up and if you start do a bottling line, you can call someone up and go, oh, I've got a bit of a problem with the bottling line, and your mate has got
Yeah.
also got a bottling line. Go, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you done the other?
Exactly. Yeah.
We were very much flying blind and trying to take packaging nuance, blending in what you needed to know about wine. Because when we're looking at these materials, the material people are brilliant. They know their materials, they know what they need to do. Yeah. The wine people know about their wines and all about wine. There's not a lot of crossover in the middle about flexible packaging and wine
No.
preservation.
No.
And one person's in you know, oxygen transfer in cubic centimeters per inch square of material per day. And then someone over here is like, yeah, but ours is in square liters per year per centimeter cubed. I'm like, how do I put that into a formula to make it
Oh my
work
goodness.
together?
Yeah.
And
Yes. God.
just little things that you learn that you do your maths. And I'll tell you this one that when our first set of material, we're like, okay, we want to match. We wanted it to match a glass bottle with a DM cork, kind of as standard.
Okay. Yep.
So we
Yep.
go, it's kind of like a general bottle you get off the shelf.
Yep.
So we did that, and then we realised, oh, that's not quite right because we're doing 100 ml samples. We actually need, because of the surface area to volume ratio of the pouch, we actually need to be 7 times better than that because we've got such a, you look at the bottle to pouch ratio, sorry,
Yes.
bottle to wine ratio versus pouch to wine ratio, it's vastly different. So we had to go back and sort our maths and go again.
God.
And to be fair, it was during lockdown and during the pandemic, and when people were getting their wine and they were tasting it, and they were doing live tastings, that had no problem because people were consuming the wine immediately within a couple of days. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
wasn't there wasn't this shelf life issue. It
Yeah.
was much
Didn't
more
need to
when
be.
we came out of lockdown and we saw the people joining us live started to dwindle and more people were doing it on catch up because they could go back to the pub again. So they didn't
Okay.
always join
Yeah.
us live. And then
Yes.
we had a few clients talk to us about advent calendars. It's like, well, we can't get people to keep their advent calendar in the fridge for a month over December because they need to put their turkey in there
Kind
and
of
their
got other
food and
requirements. Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like that. So that's where we realized that we had to make sure our shelf life was brilliant.
Yeah.
So as we got back into the real world, and it wasn't just how much wine can I stick in my fridge because I'm doing it during lockdown, I've got nowhere else to be. And that captive audience went away.
Yeah.
We had to make sure someone could buy a few glasses of wine and they've got left on the side because things happen. They could come back to it in a month or 2 months and have a look at the YouTube video and watch it then. And the wine still had to be on point.
Yeah.
And I think
Yes.
the wine being on point is massively important. If you're given a bad glass of wine, yeah, if it's corked, if it's got VA, if it's got whatever fault, you go, all right, that's bad. I'll have an, I'll try it again at some point.
Yeah.
What we found with a lot of things that turned up to us packed during lockdown, it wasn't the wine had gone bad. It had just faded. It had lost some acidity. It had lost some of that brilliant fruit.
Okay.
And you taste that wine and go, I know that winemaker, and that's not their wine. It's like, it's okay. You go, this is okay, but I wouldn't spend 25 or 30 quid on it. And if you're an average consumer who doesn't know that, and you're just picking up the wine to see if you like it, I'm like, oh, that's all right, but it's not worth the money. So that
Yeah.
wine has lost its chance of ever being tasted again. You just go, wasn't great. It's all right. Because
Yeah.
it's not bad. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. It does. And I guess that what it does puts the product in an even more important state because it is showcasing something like you say. Yeah, if you had a bad bottle, you go, well, I bought six, so let's try the next one of the same variety. I guess because of that, it's ever more important that you've had to get it right from the outset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the fact that, you know, you're not going to be with the person tasting it. If you're in
Yeah.
a wine bar or a restaurant or an independent wine shop and you do a tasting and someone goes, "Oh, this doesn't taste great," you can walk over them and go, "Oh, yeah, that's not as it should be." If
Yeah.
this person's tasting the wine and I'm giving a seminar, through the computer screen and someone goes, "This tastes a bit like this," I can't help them. I don't know. I can't see that. So
Yes.
we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to make sure that that wine is as it would be out of a bottle. And
Yeah.
and it's my product, so I'm going to sit here and go, it's brilliant, it's brilliant, it's brilliant. But if it didn't work, I'm a sommelier by trade. I would be back in a restaurant, in a wine bar, selling wine out of a bottle to people.
Yeah.
But it does, and we pack for WSET now. We do their diploma calibration level threes. We pack for the wine society. We pack for some big names in the industry. So if it didn't work, they go, no, we don't do that anymore.
Absolutely. And what a great stamp of approval that you've got from all of those entities that are prepared to obviously put the trust in the ecosip and stand behind it, which is amazing that they've done that, and obviously paramount to obviously how good the product is at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
So in terms of obviously the ecosystem, the product works, and obviously it's been tried and tested. Um, how was it from perhaps I don't know the view of I mean maybe psychologically having to overcome the tradition we call it the traditional wine industry of the glass bottle and moving from that to trusting the pouch or um, the eco sip, where was that? Obviously, was it a sort of journey over time that these, sort of traditional companies, the Wine Society, etc., um, was it quite a lot of sort of gradual persuasion, encouragement that you've had to undergo to get through to these sort of companies?
It has. It's been a lot of building trust. It's been a
Mm,
lot of let us help you through this. There's been a lot of holding our hands up and going, how do we make this comfortable for you, for your consumer? Um, And I think there's twofold of it. We came out of lockdown and we started talking to some people. And oh, we put our wine in pouches during lockdown and it ruined our wine. We're never doing sampling again. So we got tarred with the same brush of anyone who had done
okay.
food formats,
Yeah.
which has been, we almost were back past zero. We were below zero and trying to build that confidence back product.
Yes. Yeah.
And I also think the wine industry is sometimes a bit slow to move. It's getting quicker now, but I remember when I was, first in the industry 20 years ago, someone would order a bottle of wine from me. I'd go down to the cellar, I'd get it, I'd walk over, and it'd have a screw cap on it. And they go, no. What do you mean? It's got a screw cap. It can't be any good. And I think sometimes what is classed as, and I'd love to get rid of the phrase alternative formats. Why is it glass and then everything else is alternative formats? These newer non-glass formats
Yeah,
sometimes get a little bit of a rough deal.
yeah,
I think it might be sometimes when there's a new tech happening, people don't want to go in and put the best wines in there in case it doesn't work. And I think, we look at 20, 30 years ago, screw caps weren't always the most brilliant wines. Bag in box wasn't associated with the best wines. But now there's some absolutely brilliant wines being put in bag in box. There's some brilliant wines being put in can. There's some brilliant wines under screw. Some of the best wines in the world are now under screw cap.
yeah,
And it is about perception. And if you go, all right, here's a lovely presentation kit that's got 6 glass bottles of wine in, and it's got all those kind of things, whatever, or you've got 6 pouches, I understand that perception. But what would you rather have? Would you rather have 6 glass bottles where the wine is naff because it's gone off because it's not preserved properly? Or would you rather have 6 pouches of brilliant, exactly as it should be wine? And
absolutely.
I really think, no one's drinking, well, I don't know, unless you go to a festival, no one's drinking it out of a pouch like that. If it's getting to the customer and it's getting in their glass, does it matter what format it came in? Is it a bottle? Is it a keg? Is it a can? Is it whatever? If the final consumption by the end user is as it should be and perfect, should that truly make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, sounds like there's obviously been quite a hefty change in the public's perception over the last 5 years or so that you've been doing what you're doing. But as you say, it's the end receptacle more often than not is the glass. And again, if you've got a quality wine in a glass, that's what you're sampling, isn't it? At the end of the day, I think I've bought the calendars, the advent calendars, and they're fantastic, aren't they? Just to say. The downside is you can't have one before you go to work in the morning, like you would do a chocolate, but it's there waiting for you when you get home. And it's fantastic to have a whole month's worth in December of different wines that's easy and accessible. It's a phenomenal thing that you can create that.
And I think I think the advent calendar is a brilliant example that you put something out. I've never seen that, never heard of it. It's a white. I whack it in the fridge, and you open it, and it's 100 ml. And if you love it, brilliant. You found your new favorite glass of wine. And if you
Yeah,
go, well, this isn't for me, you're then not worried when you go to an independent wine merchant or a restaurant because you've seen that style and go, that's not my kind of thing. And you're not
yes,
risking 30, 50, 70 quid on a bottle of
yeah,
wine to see
yeah,
if you like it. So I think we give that opportunity of being able to, that try before you buy, that ease of access, that low barrier to entry to try new things. The option of, on a Tuesday night, I think sometimes wine is a binary decision. Am I going to open a bottle or not? But if you've got
yeah,
a pouch, you can have just gonna have a glass because I think the bottle is either there's two mentalities here. There's the I'm worried about having a glass and wasting the rest of the bottle because I don't know when I'm going to drink it, or there I absolutely don't trust myself because once I open it, obviously I'm going to drink the whole thing. So but having a pouch allows you to have. You don't have to have one. You can have one, two, three, whatever you like. But
yeah,
it just allows that mindful drinking, that thing that if I want a glass of red, my wife wants a glass of white, we don't have to open two bottles. There's a lot of things for this kind of almost like flexible, mindful drinking, this premium but less, this discovery of wine. We have a lot of opportunity for people to explore wine drinking in a smaller format.
fantastic. I mean, that's really interesting because I've heard different positive stories about people, and as I say, yeah, it might be the husband likes red, the wife likes white, or vice versa, and you've got the combination that they can each have one without opening a whole bottle. Um, the one I hadn't heard of is obviously it has a potential benefit of capping what you're drinking if you're trying to be sensible, which is could be a positive outcome with it. So that's a great one. I mean, in terms of what I was thinking next was, I think when I was reading about you, you've produced, I think it's over 1 million samples now. Was that right?
We're over 2 million now.
2 million fans. Wow. I mean, staggering numbers. And linking that to, say, I suppose, customer acquisition costs involved with that. Have you found and seen over the last 5 or 6 years that sampling as a general area has become more value because other costs have become more expensive, digital advertising, that sort of thing. Has it been a sort of from a marketing point of view been a positive um, development?
So it sits both ways. I think we've almost done three different things through lockdown. When we first started, we did zero marketing, didn't need it because people wanted to have wines. Like they came to us and other people saw what we did. So for the first 2.5 years, we didn't call anybody. People picked up the phone
Wow.
and called us and said, "Can you do this for us?" We then came out of lockdown and we had to rebuild a little bit because the club from its peak has dropped off because people were doing different things.
Yeah.
um and I think it's what people say, what people do, and what people believe are not always entirely linked. Everyone goes, they want to be more sustainable, they want to be more lightweight, but not if it's going to cost them loads more money.
Yeah.
So where we've got to now is we have to build a level of scalability. Um, that the pouches run through a machine. It takes us the same setup and breakdown time to run 50 samples as it does 500. So when we get to people going, let's do thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of
Mm,
thousands, we have the absolutely lowest cost of material. That's 2.5 grams of material, and you compare that to a 20-gram can, 120-gram, single glass bottle. It's a massive saving, and I think now these EPR taxes are coming in,
mm,
that it's becoming more costly to ship. Um, I think we've gone from being this is a fun, cool gimmick that came out of lockdown. Oh, isn't that nice to have pouches through your letterbox? Wow, that's fun. That I really believe this is an industry changer. This is how people should be consuming wine, whether it's for sampling, whether it's for buy the glass in the restaurant when you've not got a
yeah.
caravan or something like that, whether it's
Mm,
your recipe kit company, your Gusto or your Hello Fresh, that you've got your perfectly portioned meal to then have a perfectly portioned paired glass of wine with it. You talk,
yeah.
airlines, the cost of jet fuel right now. So if you can have your wine in there that you can fit twice as much at half the weight, why wouldn't you? So I think we've gone from, and this is where we're on this kind of turn at the moment, that we're really putting our efforts into showcasing that this is a product for the future. This is how you should consume single serve wines, whether it is the
Yeah.
smoking, the tasting, and stuff like that. And it's not just, we thought online wine tasting was the thing, but that is a niche of a niche of a niche of people who enjoy a glass of wine.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And no, that makes sense, and didn't even occur, but it makes perfect sense about the weight issue, especially yeah, if you're in if overall weight is a concern or a requirement, absolutely. So you've held thousands of wine tasting. You've educated, many people. You've judged, things IWC and
IWC, yeah,
IWSC.
yeah.
So in terms of obviously all that history and all the change and development you've seen, what's exciting you most about wine at the moment?
There's so much. There is so well, and this is why wine is brilliant, because there's always something new, there's always something changing, there's always a new thing to explore, a new grape to try, and it's becoming so global and so much more accessible. Um, I like the fact that what's making me excited? Everything's making me excited. I
That's
think
great.
I think we're seeing more wine lists that are becoming condensed and specialized. I think when I first got into the wine industry, having the biggest, longest, most extensive list was the sign of being a great sommelier. Oh, I've got 2,000 wines on my list, stuff like that. I like being able to go into a bar or restaurant and they've got, 6 or 10 wine by the glass, maybe 20 bottles, and everything's
Okay. Yeah.
nicely.
Yeah.
It's considered wine list that everything has a story.
Yeah.
And I think we are getting so much more information about the people, the terroir, the sustainability, and why you should care about where your wine is coming from and that understanding of the cost involved with it. I think there's commodity wine, there absolutely is. There's just mass produced, and that does a job. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But it's being able to, people are getting that understanding of, they see Germany and go, look at that. And so, if you had to go up that steep slope in the Mosel, how much would you want to get paid for your bottle of wine? So
Absolutely.
I think, you're looking at sustainability in drinks as a thing, the Sustainable Wine Roundtable. There's a lot of organizations that are coming together that are trying to champion new formats, trying to champion recyclability, trying to champion soil health, trying to champion that wine is an agricultural product, and if we need to look after it, or it's not going to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that sits with what we're doing. But just there's so much more wine being accessible. I think when I first started, it was a hidden away, ooh, if you don't know, you don't know anything kind of thing. And now it's, people have traveled and they've been there. And, I'll have a conversation on the club about a wine that I'm excited about. And someone, "Oh, I've been to that vineyard." I'm like, that's brilliant. Everyone's, everyone's learning together. And
Yes.
you're, you're non-professional, but excited wine consumer
Yes.
is
Yeah.
traveling.
Yeah. Definitely.
There's wine tourism that people are like, oh, I'm going to do a weekend down in Kent and visit 6 wineries. And that's
Yeah.
brilliant. And the amount of brilliant wines we have on our doorstep now is fantastic.
True. Yeah. Yeah. And are you saying that obviously consumers have overcome a lot of the misconceptions that they may have had over the last few decades, and obviously different generation now than might have had these preconceptions previously.
I I think so. I think people are more willing to give something a go.
Yeah.
I think, when I first started, it was, Burgundy, Bordeaux, Barolo. Those were the kings of wine. And,
Yes.
Australia made cheap Shiraz and Argentina was making a bit of Malbec.
Yeah.
And when we talked about wine, it was you talk about France, and it was the particular row of the particular vineyard of the particular plot, and that's where that came from. And then there was Australia. I'm like, no, no, no. Australia is also split into smaller parts as well. But seeing regionality in new world countries being pushed further, you talk about Argentina, and people are now talking about the sub-regions of Mendoza and wines at this
Yeah.
altitude
True.
and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
altitude.
Yeah.
That there's, and that's not specialized knowledge anymore. It's people are getting an understanding for wine in general.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I think the less mystery, that if you can pick up a bottle and you can work out that it's from somewhere warm, and it's, there's these kind of pointers that you can know just a little bit and a few little facts that will help you if there's not someone to help you in the supermarket or the wine shop or
Yeah.
whatever. Those little pointers that you go, I think I might like that. You know, People are understanding that Chablis is made from Chardonnay. That didn't happen 20 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was the I hate Chardonnay, but I love a Chablis, and all the sommeliers went, isn't that funny? Um, but now, just those kind of little things that help you open the door to a better glass of wine, so much
Yeah.
more accessible for people. There's so much more information available.
Yes, which is highly important. And it'd be remiss of me not to ask, as we haven't mentioned it. Obviously, you've got a big part of your history is based in the States. What are your thoughts on American California wines as they are now? People's conceptions of those, how it's changed over the years since you've been in the wine business.
Yeah, absolutely. American wine is brilliant. There is so much spectacular wine, and it's not just California. You look at Oregon, you look at Washington, you look at New York. Virginia's making some brilliant sparkling. I think, and it was when I first moved back to the UK about 11 years ago. What was represented from America in the UK was either the £3, £5, mass produced, brand name stuff,
Yeah,
or it was 500 quid for a bottle of Harlan Estate. And there wasn't very much in the middle. There wasn't an everyday drinking, this is nice, I want to open up wine, getting into the UK. But we're starting to see a lot more of that now. It's still, with exchange rates and tax, it's still relatively expensive, which is a
yeah,
bit of a problem. That if you
yeah.
bring over let's take a Oregon Pinot Noir, for example.
Okay.
If you bring that over and you try and compare it like for like into Burgundy, into Central Otago, into Yarra from Australia, and put it against the world's best Pinot, the quality is absolutely there, but the price point is sometimes, you know, oh, well, if I can spend 40 quid on a bottle of Oregon or 40 quid on a bottle of Burgundy, you're going to pick the Burgundy because it's the safe choice. A bit like
Mm,
5, 10 years ago, if you could have a bottle of champagne or a bottle of English fizz at the same price, people would pick champagne because it was safe.
yeah, yeah,
The American wine industry, I think, is it's brilliant. They're open to new techniques. They're able to grow what they want where they want, which is a double-edged sword. They're not tied by AOP or DOCG rules, that style of thing. So they
yeah,
go, I fancy growing a bit of Tempranillo or a bit of Gruner Veltliner, see what happens. They've got that ability to be experimental. Sometimes it
yeah, which
works
is great.
brilliantly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like wine hasn't done that. But there's a lot, and I think because of how big the country is, the range of wines they're creating, and the
Yeah.
range of climates and microclimates they have, from
Mm,
Finger Lakes in New York to the hotbed of Napa Valley or Lodi to the Pacific
mm,
Northwest, it
yeah,
gives that ability to create any style of wine you would like to. So it's much more about,
yeah.
the winemaker can go, I want to create this kind of wine. So, is there somewhere in Idaho that has this kind of climate, this kind of let's do
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's fun for, inventive, but sometimes for the consumer it's difficult because how is this Napa cab different to that Napa cab different to that Napa cab? The labels are
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
same and one's 15 quid and one's 1500 quid. How will I know? Whereas if you're
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Burgundy, you can look at Village, Premier Cru, Grand Cru, and it gives you a bit of a clue.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point, actually, geographically and dimensionally, the size of the states compared to, yeah, obviously, I'm
Well,
down in
edge to
Kent.
edge, it's the size of Europe.
Absolutely.
That's like saying,
Yeah. Was the same. Yeah.
yeah, that's like saying America does Cabernet Sauvignon and Europe does Chardonnay. It's
Exactly.
madness,
Yeah.
madness.
Yeah. You look from, obviously, I'm in Kent. Look from me to, the various French regions, Spain, Italy, and doesn't even equate east to west with with the states, and you think, yeah, it's kind of a re-education
Mm.
piece that's needed
Oh,
to
absolutely.
explore that. So, what do you think the sort of the wider wine industry, drinks industry, isn't paying enough attention to yet at the moment, or what's on the horizon in your opinion?
I think so. I think the drinks industry across the board, and I think wine is slightly behind, is this. Everyone's saying people are drinking less. But I think that's with wine is the problem because we're fixed on this 750 ml bottle. You look at other drink, beer is in a 330 ml can, the RTDs, the hard seltzers in the States are in, small single serve
Mm,
portions. So you've got that ability to have a single serve portion of something that's lovely, refreshing, drinkable.
yes.
I think sometimes we want to make wine too complicated. We need to have 3.5 hours of waxing lyrical tasting notes that, you go, why can't we just have a wine this is great, the end, it's delicious, the end. I think we need more of those,
Yeah.
You
Yep.
look at beer, and you have your standard lager. Is it the best beer in the world? No. But on a hot day, is it cold, refreshing? You go, yeah. You don't need to think about it. You don't, when
No.
I walk into a bar or pub or restaurant and you order a glass of wine, someone wants to have a conversation with you about that glass. Oh, it's got this, it's got that, it's got hints of this. When you go, which beers you got? But taps. Get on with it. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think we
Yeah.
need to make wine. There's special wine and wine for occasions, all that kind of stuff. But let's just make wine single serve, easy, get on with it,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And you not having to know the region, the grape, the person who made it, the soil structure, how long it sat in oak to be able to be allowed through the door to enjoy that glass of wine. Sometimes we have that problem that,
Yeah.
even us in the wine industry who turn around and go, everyone's like, oh, I want to demystify wine. We never get down to that base level. We go, oh, I want to demystify wine, so I'm going to tell them that go back to, Chablis made with Chardonnay. Well, we need to go back to go, wine's made with grapes, and Chardonnay is a grape, and the juice comes out and that makes wine with some yeast.
Yeah, real back to
We've
basics.
got to
Yeah,
go back to there before we're telling
yeah,
people Chablis is Chardonnay and Rioja's made with Tempranillo. And I think sometimes in the wine industry, we have that little bit of information that we have that because there's so much information, we forget there's that very base level that
yes, yeah,
we we've jumped past so many years ago. We need to go, it's delicious, drink it. If you don't like it, tell me what you like or don't like, and we'll find something else. That's where we need to get
yeah,
with
yeah,
tell me what you like, tell me that. And that's what I hope we do with our tastings and our pouches, that people go, I like that white one. I like the white wine that had the elephant on the bottle. I know what that is. Have some more of it.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And obviously, a couple of obviously entrepreneurial related questions. What do you think, in your opinion, obviously going through the journey that you've been through, is one of the most or more underrated skills in running a drinks business that you've experienced?
I think from the entrepreneurial side, I think before I walked into this, learning that you can do a lot more than you ever thought you could do. The things that if you'd been working for another company, you'd gone, that's not my skill set, that's not my wheelhouse. I can never do that.
Yeah,
When it's your own, you don't have a choice but to do it, learn it, and then realize, oh, I'm actually quite good at this. And I
fantastic.
think that's a
Yeah.
massive. I never thought I would, the example. I never thought I'd know about multi-layered, aluminium core pouches. I never thought I'd know about, the different thickness of cardboard and corrugated versus this. But I think entrepreneurial, when you don't have a choice, you go out and learn, and that single swim is
Yeah,
massive.
yeah,
And also, you know, when you have the dark days you're only having the dark days because you really care about your product. If you didn't care about the product or the business or believe in it, those dark days wouldn't exist because you'd just be able
yeah,
to walk away from it.
yeah,
Yeah. So trust in yourself, be your own cheerleader, and do not be afraid to ask for help. Call in favors, call in people, call
yeah, yeah,
everybody. I've got a wine business, and I don't know. You have this expectation that your mates will buy wine from you, but unless
yeah,
you actually go and ask them, they ain't going to do it. So
yeah,
hey, be be proud of your product, be positive about your product, and I think sometimes you feel as an entrepreneur a bit self-conscious because you're laying everything bare.
yeah,
But if you don't go out and shout about it, and I think one of the biggest things with ecosystem, while I'm excited to do this podcast, is everyone I talk to go, that's brilliant. Nobody knows you exist. No one knows. And people go, oh, I had the Naked Advent calendar or the Wine Society this. And I'm like, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I make them. Oh, really? That's you?
That's
So
me.
champion, hey, as an entrepreneur, go out and champion yourself.
Yes,
No,
yeah,
no one else is going to do it for you.
yeah. And I guess it might be an obvious answer, but looking back over, let's say, 6 years ago, um, you couldn't have envisaged the journey you've been on starting out. There's no, business plan or whatever. It's just things happen, obstacles, challenges coming your way, and you've overcome them or got through them, haven't you?
Yeah, things change. Hey, it's the old no plans advise enemy contact, does it?
Yeah,
But if you've got a good product, you believe in your product, and it's right, it will find a way to do it. It might take longer than you think. It might be quicker than you think. It might end up in a completely different project than you thought. I thought the
yes,
online
yeah,
wine tasting club, oh, if we get 50,000 subscribers, it'll be great. But now I sell more pouches to other people to sell to their customers than I sell
yeah,
direct to my customers. So I think that's what's brilliant is if the base of what you do is good and you've got a good team around you and you're nice and you're personable and you talk to people,
yeah,
you've got a chance. If you're
definitely.
arrogant and snobby and obnoxious and want to fight everybody else, the wine industry is a very, very small space. And
Yeah,
you've got to be good, you've got to look after people.
yeah,
And if that tech's not right, I will get found out very, very, very quickly.
yeah, absolutely. And where do you see yourself, the business in the next, 3, 5, 10 years? What's the outlook?
So I really, really think that we have a brilliant product. We might be in very slightly the wrong place. I think for this to really hit the eco credentials that it needs to, the lowest cost to market, we need to be where the wine is. Because right now, a lot of the wine, people have already made their decisions. It comes, it's bottled, it gets to us, we then decant, we send out.
Mhm.
So we would love to be, and we're starting to talk to a few people. We're looking at some investment. We're talking to people about how we can do it to get a hub in the United States primarily, in California, because A, you've got lots of wine there and they're open to these kind of styles.
Mhm.
B, everything that comes into America, a lot of it's coming in bulk already to then get bottled so we can pack
Yeah,
that. And it's a large wine market. And also my balance that, I lived out there 10 years. I got my
Mhm.
citizenship before I moved back and I've got a good network out there. But we
Yeah,
see there being an American hub, maybe a European hub, Australian hub. So we can then pack wine into pouches at source,
yeah,
then lower the cost even more, lower the carbon footprint even more. And I think that's what we need to do. So we've got a brilliant proof of concept in the UK, um, but there's just not enough bulk wine. If you go into Europe, it's easy to move that wine around there. It's easy to move the wine around the
yes,
States.
yeah,
So we love what we do here, but I think for real growth, it's about there is no point. You can greenwash as much as you like and get it in pouches. But if someone ships me a tanker of wine from Australia to put into pouches to send back to Australia for them to then distribute,
yeah,
A, the cost is silly to do that.
yeah,
B,
yeah,
the eco footprint is ridiculous. It negates anything like that. So that's where I'd love
yeah.
to be. I'd love to grow the online wine tasting club further. So, it's my thing, my 2 hours where nothing matters. I can just sit in front of the screen and talk to people about wine. I would love to grow that. But as far as EcoSip becoming the global single serve way for people to drink wine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fantastic. I mean, we could talk about this all day, but let's do a final plug. How do people find more about online tasting, EcoSip? What's the routes that they can go and enjoy you more?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want, so the EcoSip website is ecosip.co.uk. So that's nice and easy. And then
Fantastic.
the online wine tasting club, which is for the club, for membership, for the bottle shop, for private tastings, is onlinewinetasting.club. So it does
Perfect.
exactly what it says on the tin, online wine tasting club. And hey, if you want to talk to me directly, it's Jamie at onlinetasting.co. It is just co at the end, no UKs, no comms, just .co at the end. We're a small team. There's four of us, so if you pop that email in, you'll get straight to me. There's no PA hiding over there. So yeah, any wine questions, you want to join the club, you want to do a tasting, you want to put EcoSip pouches in your bars, restaurants, businesses, give me a shout. We'd love to work with you.
Amazing. Well, Jamie, I've had a fantastic time talking. Again, as we said at the start, we could have probably talked all day about the various different intricacies of it all. But I mean, great journey, great story, and thanks ever so much for coming on. And I implore people to find out more. And obviously, I think it's going to continue being an exciting variation of obviously, what was as we said, fairly traditional, fairly narrow way of doing things, and you've opened it up tremendously. And I think, only good things will come from it in the future. So wishing you all the best and look forward to seeing how the journey continues.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Jamie. Have a great day.
Cheers.